Good evening, Knicks fans. Welcome back once again. I just want to do a quick retake on the analysis from the previous preseason game. I wanted to do it by looking at the stat sheet. Right here, I gathered some stats from NBA.com. And what I did here was I gathered some things that I really wanted to look at. I looked at there were some advanced analytics that I wanted to look at that we want to gauge as the season goes on. And also, we want to look at it for the most impactful players. So the players on a team that are get number one, that are going to get the most minutes, and number two, where their input or their input, whether if it's offensive or defensive, or whether if it's on the glass, has an impact on the actual outcome of the game. And so that's what we have here. We're going to look at, and so basically these here are the players that got the most minutes from the last game. Um, I did not include Obi Toppin in this, and the reason why I did that was because last season Obi Toppin only averaged about is it maybe 15 minutes a game he got, maybe even less than that. And so last year he wasn't really didn't have a huge impact on the team's output or their performance throughout the season. However, this year that may change, and if that changes, then we'll include him as one of the most important, one of the more important players for the game. And but again, I'm really looking at people that are going to get over 25 minutes a game. That's the reason. That's basically the rationale I use to make this list here. And so, of course, it starts off with Julius Randle, who's our leader, and he gets the most minutes. He leads the NBA in minutes per game and most minutes played last year. We got Evan Fournier, R.J. Barrett, Jericho Sims. The only reason we have Jericho Sims in here is because Mitchell Robinson in New Orleans is out, and he played this game. And so we're probably going to swap Jericho Sims out for Mitchell Robinson when Mitchell Robinson comes back. And we also have Emmanuel Quickly, Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker, Taj Gibson, and Alec Burks. And of course, Taj Gibson, we're probably going to swap him out for Nerlens Noel once Nerlens come back. From one of the previous videos that I did, I really focused a lot on the offensive rating, defensive rating, and the net ratings. And so that's the reason why it's one of the first three columns that we're looking at, right? And I think this is one rating that just captures everything that you need to know about a player and how much of an impact that player has on the game. But the offensive rating essentially tells you how many points that player is scoring and also how efficiently is he scoring those points. And obviously, the lower the rating, the less efficient that player is. And so, defensive rating basically gauges how much of an impact the player has on the defensive side of the ball. And obviously, the lower that rating is, the better. And so, the net rating is basically the defensive rating minus the offensive rating. So that gives you a net rating. And so, what I want to do, so for each player, I've been really paying attention to what each player's net offensive rating is from game to game. Last year, um, our highest net player with our player with the highest net rating was actually Mitchell Robinson. Although he played only about 31 games last year, he had the highest net rating, and I think the next one was Bullock. He had a net rating of 7. And then we also, who else? I think maybe Derrick Rose was around 4 or 5. And so, yeah. So essentially, that's why we're looking at these stats here. Especially, that's why we're focused on the net rating because I believe it has the most impact. Is basically a stat that basically that tells you who's having the most impact on the squad throughout the game. And so if we look at it, the net, Julius Randle had almost a 26 net rating. Evan Fournier was 32. R.J. Barrett was 35. Jericho Sims was -4. He struggled in his first game. And so obviously he's going to spend a lot of time in the G League, especially if Mitchell Robinson and Nerlens Noel is healthy. If not, coach is probably going to be losing his mind. Coach actually yelled at him a couple of times during the first game. And so his defensive rating was 117. He was lost quite a bit. Offensive rating was 113, which wasn't, which is decent, not terrible. Emmanuel Quickly, his net rating was 2. Played good defense. offensive rating was 108. He struggled shooting the ball. And Derrick Rose offensive rating was 133, and defensive rating was 108. Kemba Walker is 14. His offensive rating was 114, and defense was 89. Net rating was 25, and Taj had the highest net rating of 45. Alec Burks had a net rating of about 3. And so effective field goal for Julius Randle was 57%, and true shooting was almost 62%. Now, the reason why I'm looking at the effective field goal and focused on it and also the true shooting percentage is because, believe it or not, that's something I felt like Julius Randle and RJ Barrett had to work on. RJ Barrett, I think, was slightly below league average when he came to true shooting percentage last year, or maybe he was around league average. And Julius Randle was above league average, but not by that much. And so I always felt like they had to improve. Both of them had to be a lot more efficient for the Knicks to be a lot more successful. And the reason, and the way they were going to basically be able to do that, the way the coach and the organization was going to allow to help them do that was by obviously bringing in Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. Both players can dribble, pass, and shoot the ball. Both of them are playmakers. They can make plays for themselves and also for the team, and they really help space the ball a lot. And so with them spacing the ball a lot, it's going to give RJ and Julius more room to operate, especially in the paint. And so RJ, from looking at the first preseason game, he's still struggling finishing at the rim, so he still really needs to work on that. Julius Randle, he finishes at the rim around 66%. Last year, he finished around the rim at 66%. And we assume this year is going to be about the same. Maybe he might improve. And so because of that, it's good that we have Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker. So these guys, because they're going to be able to spread the floor, the paint should be a little more wide open. And so hopefully we can get Julius Randle easier baskets at the rim. And actually, if you noticed in this game, that was able to happen. Julius Randle did basically get three buckets right at the rim. And Julius didn't have a great game either. It seemed like he started off a little slow, but when you look up when the game was over, he basically shot 7 to 14, and his field goal percentage was he shot 50% from the field. And I think a lot of that was the fact that he had a lot more playmakers. He didn't have to press too much. All he had to do when he wasn't feeling it, he was able to move the ball around and try to make plays for his teammates, and he didn't have to really force anything too much. And so because he did that, he just let the game come to him. He was able to take shots that they gave him, and so he was able to be a lot more efficient. He just didn't even have to press at all. They passed the ball very well. The offense flowed very well, and you can just basically definitely see the impact that it had on him in this game. Obviously, it's only one game; it's a preseason game, and we have to see how it goes as the season goes along. But you kind of have to watch the game to kind of feel it out to see, okay, you know what? It seemed like Julius Randle started off slow. He wasn't really feeling it, but yet it seemed like he finished the game. He finished the game strong by letting the game come to him, and so you just kind of have to see the game to kind of see exactly what the impact of Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker has been on Julius Randle. Now, just going back to these stats here, the team's effective field goal was 58%, and true shooting was about 64%. Obviously, let me restate, that is not the whole team. This is basically the effective field goal and true shooting for the guys that I believe, basically the guys that got the most minutes in a game today. And so the next thing you want to look at was the usage percentage for this game. And normally, Julius Randle normally leads the team in usage percentage. He's normally above 20. The average is around 28% last year. And so there was a lot of games where his usage percentage was above 30%. And then the next would be RJ Barrett, and his average was around 23% last year. But if you notice, and then you have other players like Derrick Rose. I'm not sure exactly what his was last year, but it was probably somewhere around 20%, maybe a little less. But As you notice with this game, there's a lot of people where the usage percentage was close. Everyone was close to 20%. No one was far above 23%. And so basically, there's a lot of people involved in making plays for basically everyone. Basically, a lot of the players on this court, except for the big man, are able to dribble, pass, and shoot. And so they were able to handle the rock and try to make plays for their teammates. And the team was just able to move the ball a lot more. And so that's why you have everyone's usage rate for these players are all between basically, most of them is all between 17 and 23. There's only two people on here where the usage was much lower. It was Jericho Sims, who's a big man, and Alec Burks, who's actually was lower than Jericho Sims, who played 18 minutes. So that's going to be really interesting. Last year, Alec Burks had a higher usage percentage. I can't remember what it was, but he was a primary ball handler for the second team a lot of times. And so, as you can see from looking at these stats and looking at the first preseason game, it looks like his role is going to change quite a bit because we have a lot more ball handlers on the team now. And so it looks like his role may change uh, to be more of a spot shooter, right? And so obviously, if there's a situation where he needs to basically, doesn't mean that's all he can do. If basically someone closes out on him and he has a lane to the basket, then obviously he has the ability to handle the ball, so he can actually attack the basket in that situation. But it is interesting to see Alex Burks' usage percentage was the lowest. It is only one game. However, you can look at that game and kind of see and notice that like his role this year is definitely is possibly going to change. The other thing too, I was very hesitant to put Alec Burks on here because I'm just having this feeling that his minutes may dip a little bit this year, and so we're gonna have to wait and see. He may not get the same amount of minutes he received last year, but we definitely have to wait and see. He did play pretty good defense today. I'm sorry, not today, but in the game that the preseason game that they played against the Pacers. So, we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. They're probably gonna play him at the small forward position. For a small forward, he's a little undersized for a small forward, but he is a really good offensive player. And so we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. And so I have Pace on here. The reason why I have Pace on here because honestly, in my opinion, I'm not sure if they're really, I do know they want to probably increase their pace a little bit because they are fast and they are athletic, right? But I don't think they're really trying to push the ball. They're trying to really push the pace that much. I don't think it's really a huge priority for this team, in my opinion, because even if you look at their starting lineup, they're basically the most important players. You were talking about Derrick Rose, Kemba Walker. I'm not sure if they're trying to push the pace that often. They are going to try to push it. I think mostly with the second team with Obi Toppin because those guys are a lot more athletic. They're younger, and those guys can really fly. And so I think with the second team they may try to push the pace a little bit, but with the first team I'm not really sure. So the pace, I don't think is a huge priority for the team as a whole. Maybe for the second team, but I don't think it's huge for the team as a whole. So we look at the points scored. Julius Randle led the team with 20 points. RJ Barrett basically followed was second with 17 points. And if we go over to the field goal percentage, as you can see right away, you know, uh, Julius Randle was 50%. RJ Barrett was also 50%. And that's really what we're looking for. That's really what the team needs to focus on this year. Improving efficiency on the offensive side of the ball, and also obviously having more threats on the floor. Having other options as playmaking options aside from Julius and RJ. And so we desperately missed it against the Hawks in the playoffs last year. And obviously it looks like the team addressed that situation by bringing in Kemba and Evan Fournier. So below, if we look here, I want to take a look at this shot chart. This shot chart we have here is like Julius Randle's shot chart. I, I wanted to, kind of take a look at it because um, it kind of shows you a lot. Because like I said before, we were looking to focus on really wanted to focus more on efficiency for Julius Randle, right? And we wanted to see if we could get him more shots in the paint. I had a feeling they were going to try to focus on that this year to get a more easy basket because he finishes really well at the rim. And so if you have basically playmakers and Kemba Walker, Evan Fournier, they can shoot from the outside. RJ Barrett can shoot from the outside. We should be able to get easy baskets for Julius Randle. And as you see, we were able to do that in his preseason game. He got three shots at. He made 3 shots at the rim. He had a fourth one, which was a driving, which when he drove to the basket and he just wasn't able to finish. There was some contact there, but these other three, it was essentially open shots, and one of them was a really nice pass from Taj Gibson when he caught Julius Randle basically cutting right down the middle, and it was for a nice easy dunk. So. Uh, so yeah, this shot chart is definitely what we're looking for. We're seeing basically more shots for Julius at the rim. The other thing talked about in the previous videos, we're not seeing this game. We didn't see really any. I didn't see any shots of Julius Randle between 16 and the 3-point line. And if you notice, everything was 16 feet and within. And so I think it's more of a point of focus for the team this year, for the coach, and also for Julius Randle. I do remember Tom Thibodeau talking about this during one of the press conference before the first preseason game. So it's interesting to actually see the fact that that you know that he didn't actually take any shots out between 16 feet and the 3-point line. So all his shots were within 16 feet, and then the rest of them was outside the 3-point line. And so you can kind of give you an idea what they're going for. The other thing we need to look out for too is like once Mitchell Robinson comes back, because Mitchell Robinson has, he's probably, he not probably, he is our best finisher at the rim and in the paint. A lot of people don't realize Mitchell Robinson has actually a really good touch around the basket. Even when he doesn't dunk the ball, he has pretty good touch around the basket. And so that's one person they really should work on getting basically easy shots at the rim, whether if it's through lobs or even like if he has a good post position of someone, just being able to dump the ball into Mitchell Robinson and so he can throw a hook over either the left or right shoulder, whatever he feels comfortable with. But I think they really need to work on it, getting more easier baskets at the rim. And Mitchell Robinson is going to be a key for us to be able to do that on top of Julius Randle. And so the other thing we want to look at is the three-point shooting. As we see this whole squad, basically these players overall, they essentially shot 34% from the three-point line. And the reason why the percentage was a little down was because Derrick Rose and Emmanuel quickly struggled from three. Emmanuel quickly was 0 of 4, Derrick was 0 of 2. And so they gave us a zero burger from the three-point line. And also Evan Fournier shot 1 for 4, so he also struggled. But if you look at the RJ Barrett and Julius Randle shot 40%, RJ shot 50%. And, that's really one of the most important things that we're looking for. We're really looking to try to improve efficiency for these two players. And of course, Evan Fournier, he shot around 40% his whole career. So this isn't an anomaly. You're not going to see this very often where he shoots this terribly from downrange. And so, of course, Kemba Walker is the other person we picked up who can shoot. He shot 40% from the three-point range during this game, and that's one of the reasons why we're able to spread the floor so well and the ball moved very well. Taj Gibson shot 1 of 2 from three-point range, which is really good, and Alec Burke shot 2 of 3. Alec Burke is a very good three-point shooter, and so I think we're gonna see a lot more three-point shooting, a lot more spot up three-pointers from Alec Burke, and he's gonna be more of a bigger focus of his offense this year. The other thing we really wanted to look at was the rebounding. The team did a decent job rebounding overall. I think the overall rebound for the whole team was about 49 rebounds, with about 42 defensive rebounds or 41 defensive rebounds, and maybe something like 8 or 9 offensive rebounds, maybe 7 or 9, between 7 and 9 offensive rebounds. The one person that stood out in the rebounding department was Jericho Sims. He was a little, he kept the ball alive quite a bit on the offensive glass. So if you see, he had 3 offensive rebounds and 3 defensive, and 6 rebounds overall. So Jericho Sims looks like he's going to be a pretty good rebounder. The Pacers, they're not a very good rebounding team, so this is not basically a very good gauge of how well we're going to do on the board this year. But I have a feeling if Jericho Sims can actually, you know, really pick up the game and really understand his defensive assignments and not get lost too much, I think, and if he gets some minutes during the season, I think our rebounding numbers may improve because it looks like he's going to be a pretty decent rebounder. Of course, Julius Randle did a much better job on the boards in this game. He had the most rebounds out of the core players. He actually had 9 rebounds overall, and it's only in 30 minutes. So we might actually see Julius Randle actually average a double double. Obviously, his assist totals are going to go down this year because he's not going to be the primary playmaker like he was last year. But the one thing it looks like I have a feeling is going to go up is his rebounds because he just doesn't have to do as much on the offensive end in terms of making plays for other folks, for the other teammates. The other thing I did notice about this game is Julius Randle, like I said in the previous stream that I did, he actually did a really good job on the defensive end. And you can actually notice it during the game where he made an effort to make sure he helped. His teammates did a great job trying to close out the paint and not to allow too many people getting into the paint. I mean, there was a few times where he rotated a little late on people attacking the paint, but he did the best he could. I don't even think that's really his responsibility. I think it was more the big man Jericho Sims who kind of failed in some of those assignments. However, he did a pretty decent job, and so that's the other thing I noticed about Julius. And this year, obviously, last year we mentioned that he was, I think he was like top 5 or 7 in defensive rating, and so I think it looks like he's gonna do the same thing this year, and the team is really gonna need it a lot because in the starting lineup, if Mitchell Robinson comes back, Mitchell Robinson is going to be our best defender, and Julius Randle is going to be the second best defender. R.J. Barrett, like I said during the live stream, he struggled a little bit. He got beat back door a few times, and so if he can keep his defensive rating more around 111, 112 like last year, I think we should be very happy. Obviously, this one here it was 91. It was an anomaly. This isn't. These ratings here is sort of an anomaly. Some of these are crazy. You got 80 here, 90 here. RJ Barrett had a 91 defensive rating, which it's good, but I think it's mostly because the Indiana Pacers just played a poor game and essentially we blew them out. So a lot of these numbers are really skewed, and obviously it's not really telling the story of of basically what some of our shortcomings are. And but R.J. Barrett, he did a solid job on the defensive end. If he can keep the rating around where it was last year, I think the team will be fine. And same thing with Evan Fournier. If he can keep his rating somewhere around 111, or lower, it'd be great. Anything lower than 111, I think I'll be very happy. 112, 113, then maybe we start worrying a little bit. And but if he could keep it around 111, I think on average, if he can try to keep it around 111, I think the team should be happy and the team will be very successful throughout the year. Again, if you look at this offensive and defensive rating, and you look at the game that they played, it makes you think that the Knicks are actually going to have a really good season. I definitely think they're going to win over 50 games, and I know it's just preseason. And obviously the Pacers didn't have all their players. Again, it's just preseason, but you just kind of have to look beyond that. You just kind of have to look at basically what they did. how they were able to move the ball on the Pacers' first team, and the things they were able to do. And so, uh, what they were able to do, the fact that they look much different than last year on the offensive end, it flows a lot better, looks a lot better. The numbers say it. I think I think it possibly means that the Knicks are going to have actually a very good year. And again, like I said, I think we're looking at least 50 wins. Guys, let me know what you think about this, about the video, about the next season. What do you guys think? Are they going to have over 50 wins? Do you guys think it's going to be less? Just, again, like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know what you think. I'll be more than happy to respond. Have a good day.